Ah, okay.
Yes.
Hello,
So
Rise and Thrivers. We are so excited to be here with you tonight. You know, our roles are reversed. Happy Monday to you. It's October 14th. Super excited. So glad that you're joining us. If you are new to Rise and Thrive Together, let me tell you what we are, who we are. Rise and Thrive Together is a vibrant community committed to educating, empowering, and equipping you to get the results you want through real talk, real actions, and
hey guys, what's up? We look like we are having some technical difficulties with my sister, Dr. Raquel Stewart. And so she is really sharing with you about who we are as Rise and Thrive Together. You know, a committed, vibrant community out to educating and empowering and equipping you to have the results that you want through real talk, real actions, and real results. Yeah, we're having some big technical difficulties tonight. So here we are, and we're getting some frozenness and some lagging going on. Sis says, I'm frozen. I say she's frozen. And I feel like singing, let it go, let it go. Don't make it anymore. And it's kind of perfect for our topic, right? In the space of episode 76 and the month of pruning, of letting stuff go for having you move forward personally and professionally. So I'm not sure whose end is lagging out, but like we're just going to try to get right in there. And here we are. We're no joke. It's happening literally right now. And it's really how we respond to that and not how we react to it. Right. So super happy to be here. Sis, how you doing? Start talking again. I want to check to see if we're all caught up again.
hello, can you hear me?
We can.
I'm
Awesome.
back. Super excited
Woo
to say
woo.
that line. But we do have a guest tonight. Let's see. Hopefully, we can bring our guest on.
I hope so too, man. I hope so. You ready to know who that guest is, people? I'm excited to
Yes.
share. Here it is. It is Mark. It is Mark Weisberger. I am so excited to like share. Mark is a longtime friend of mine, has been my mentor and a coach. Oh my God, I want to say since like 2008 or 9. And he brings a wealth of life experiences, blessings, and wisdom to every endeavor. He values growth and intentional living and consciously crafting a fulfilling and meaningful life. He currently does not live too far away from me, which is super exciting. And I'm excited to say that he is a golf pro and also brings his intuitive coaching to that as well. And we are proud to bring on Mark Weisberger. Woohoo! Hi, Mark.
Hi there, Regina, Raquel. How are you both?
We're here. We're here. We're making it.
Awesome.
Good. How are you, Mark?
So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm doing great. I am grateful and thankful for being on your show. Like Regina said, we've known each other a long time, and our friendship is really a friendship of growth, I would say. And the communication and the conversations we have, I believe, are different than most people have because we're always striving to achieve more and see what the value is in everything that we do. And inside of that and our growth, we get to share and have other people possibly see something for themselves. So for that, thank you for having me here. I say that every day, grateful and thankful. And part of this pruning process really stems to, who am I saying that to? And I'm actually saying that to God. And the reason why it's become so relevant in my world over the last 2 years is because I chose to prune something away in my life because I didn't want to test my life anymore. Fate. That through the 57 years of my life, I lived in a way where life was life, but maybe I took it for granted. And I did things that possibly could have put me on the other side of the dirt, and I'm still here. And I always believe I'm here for a reason, but I didn't put a whole heck of a lot of value into it till recently.
Mm.
So one of the first things I did, and I've been pruning all along. That's kind of my method, is how do I operate the best? And my method is, if it doesn't work, then you throw it out and you find something else that works for you. And, I've been doing that for a long time, but the results were the same. This is vicious circle that some of us know about, but, I continue to live in this circle. But fortunately for me, because I am interested in learning about how things work and how I operate, always wanting to have more. This is not settle, so to speak. So my circles got smaller. And the time where I went from being great to blowing stuff up or not so great because something wasn't figured out, which is where I'm at now, to back to working from the bottom to the next level. And that was all a cycle. Now I have created something for myself called the final chapter.
Ooh.
And the final chapter is all about, and it started with me working on the muscle of the brain. Really good at doing things, but when things don't happen, I never really got to the source of it. I was good at fixing things. I'm really good at fixing things. But that keeps me in the circle. It looks better, but something else comes along, a blessing. Crashing a car for me is a blessing, and I crashed many cars. Now, growing up, I didn't think those were blessings. I thought that was trials and tribulations that I had to deal with because that's my life. And honestly, taking away, per se, the limiting belief of I don't matter, and putting in loving myself, these all started to compound when I made the choice to stop drinking. And I did that in January, and that's been my hugest prune. And I don't really call it a sacrifice, right? Or I do call it a sacrifice, but in essence, a sacrifice for me is a blessing in itself, because sacrifices aren't supposed to be easy or hard. I'm doing it because I want a different result. And I had been doing the same thing over and over and just putting other stuff in, more tools to allow me to navigate it. But I never really sunk into it. But even before I stopped drinking, I wasn't able to sink into it because I was still drinking. So once I stopped drinking and started to go in more into, brain, mind, body, spirit, I'm really good body. My mind is, my spirit's pretty good. My mind was weak. And weak in a sense that I'm not, successful, and I'm not confident, and I'm not able to do things, but weak in a way where I wasn't willing to really dig and go to those places where it's like, the childhood wounds, where did it start? And, really process that in a way which allowed me to, number one, expand my interest. I've always known, but why? But it's not about the results, and I see it's not about the results for me right now. The results are just a process of me and who I'm being, right? And what I've taken away is those consequences and possible circumstances that I allowed to live in my life my whole life. because I'm not doing some of those things that took me away from what I want to call right now is being natural, au natural, which is living a lifestyle where, there's no outside sources of escape,
Mm.
giving myself that break. Now, can I give myself that break? Yeah, but in those moments create ripples. And the less of those escapes and the more pruning, the more blessings happen in a way that are happy blessings and not the ones that teach us lessons.
That is pretty deep.
So that's where I'm at.
So I've got a couple of
So
questions there, Mark. You said you stopped drinking in January of this year.
Hmm. I
What
did.
what made you stop drinking this year?
It had been a process working up to it over the last 4 or 5 years. I was, these cycles. So I went through a divorce about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't even know how long ago. And that sent me back into the drinking cycle, which I know very well. And I was like in a mode where, like, married, I had to do all this stuff. It was really hard work, even though it was great. I'm going to be free. And my free was go back and let's party. And I drove myself into a place deep, deep, but not so deep where it's the worst I've ever been, but deep enough where, I was conscious that my circumstances and things were happening that, were the same things. And I'm like, and then I started to think about life because I'm living in a town down here in Florida, and it's a small town called Lake Worth, and I've never seen more people die in my life in my whole world in the last 4 years. And because of that, and because of where I'm at and the path that I'm on and what brought me there, that I believe for me is what brought me there, is to me experience death in a way that was so powerful that I wanted life more than I've ever wanted it before, and not just to live life and do life and struggle through life, and maybe that break will happen, but give a little bit of the power, my power, to I've always been superstitious in my life. I've always been spiritual. I've always been that guy that is just possibly a little bit different than most every other person in this world. And growing up that way created unconscious thoughts and ways of living life that, worked to keep me safe in the moment. But through life, I didn't learn the lessons going through, or I wasn't divine to learn the lessons. So I needed to go through all these places and see all these people and meet all these people and be a part of all these people's lives, and move and get divorced and start drinking again and doing drugs and all that stuff to get to this point. And that is power for me, because if that's not that, then why the hell am I freaking doing it?
Okay, got you. Another thing that you mentioned, and I found it interesting. You talked about being on like repeat and the loop, and then freeing yourself. What was that like, going from having an addiction to now being free from it and starting to prune? Like, January was not that long ago.
All right, cool. Now, first of all, alcohol to me is not an addiction, right? You can call
Okay.
it an addiction if you want to, and a lot of people do because it created problems in my life. That's not addictions. That's me dealing with the deeper seated problem that I used to escape from it. When I got to a source of the problem, I decided in a moment's time that alcohol doesn't work anymore. I never said that before. And in that moment, I quit. Haven't thought about it, drunk it, been to any meetings, don't talk with anybody about it, because it has no value in my life anymore. And it had value because it allowed me to go out and escape all the stuff that goes in my ADHD brain, and all my negative thoughts and blah, 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 blah. I needed to be out. my truth, and then alcohol for me is a bad drug because it raises my endorphins. I get all freaking, get hyper, and and then I don't stop. And all these learning modes were available because I stopped drinking. It wasn't the stopping of the drinking that was it, and it's not it. It's that conscious pruning that opened the door for me to see what was beyond it, and my ability to sacrifice something that ultimately has been, my thought process, I live for the night and not for the day. And it was because, that was my time. I could go out and have fun and party and all that. I grew up that way, and it was only what I knew. And I had to go through in the last few years, these consequences and these hardships, these blessings, which they are, because I'm still alive. Right. And I learned from them. And they lifted me up to another level. That's the hardest part, to see it that way, because the pain in the moment is really, really hard. The emotion attached to it's really, really hard. And, ultimately, eliminating the alcohol, number one, said to me, I can do it, right? But I've always known I can do things. My mindset and the strength of my mind, being an athlete and growing up the way I did, is I conquered a lot of things with a strong mindset, everything against me. But that is unfulfilling. It's always been unfulfilling. And I don't want to be that way anymore. And I'm starting to look, because I want to have this, and have those mornings, and every morning, like everything's flowing. And for me, I decided I need to start taking some of the shit away that is opposite, bizarro world for me. Things that I already know, I know forever. Get them out and see what happens. And that's what I've been doing. And, it's so amazing because, I am, in a way, very in touch with, energy and emotions, and, empathic, and, seeing signs and noticing them, because I'm aware of how they help me, right? That's my playbook, are the signs. And I walked into this bookstore 2 weeks ago, and thousands of books. And I just kind of stopped, and there was this little drawer that opened up, and there were 40 books in there. And I saw this one, and it's A Mind Thinketh, As a Man Thinketh, right? And the author is James Allen. And I was going to read it, but I didn't read it. And then I picked it up in the last couple of days, and today I read 30 chapters, 30 pages. It's only 50 pages, but that's big. And this book is perfect. Everything in this book, is like, I got goosebumps, because it's like I'm reading the playbook now out of this guy's experiences of life. And now this is my coach. And, I allow myself to do that. And then also coming from this book, right, brings me to what, my today. And today was big, because today is for me to get there, because I have great ideas and great thoughts. But for me truly to get there, I got to give up why I don't want things. I never wanted things. Never wanted birthday presents. Never wanted this. I never wanted things. And, I started thinking about that, growing up, and, and that has crippled me my whole life, not wanting things. So I put a list together of what I want. And if I truly want this list, then my mindset will shift to get it. And the more I look at the list, I want it to go smoothly. I want to work on the mountain. I want to coach golf, right? These are my affirmations. This is what I want. And through that, basically it then goes to, what next? And really understanding that, I've grown so much in these last 7 months, but then I know I'm at this plateau right now. I've been here before. And if I don't keep on moving, right, I'm going to get another choice to make. Which road am I going to take? It's right there. It's always there. We always have the choice.
I have a question for you, Mark, because that's a lot of interpersonal, deep work, right? That Raquel and I talk about often. One of the things, you and I talk when we talk, and when we talk for a long time. And then there are many times that, we haven't. For me, I know for myself that sure, there's a lot of personal inner growth and development work that I do. And there are certain people, and I'll just say one person is still a community for me. What has been like, has this been just Mark alone, like one man on an island? Because we all rise and thrive together. And and for the, viewers that are listening and the people that are listening on replay, what can you share with them? Because this is a lot of I and alone, which is great. And I will say a lot of people struggle in that as well.
Great question. Great question. Because no, it's ultimately it could feel like I'm on an island, but I'm always like pulled or drawn to do something. So part of this, I speak to you all the time. That is my community, right? I have other people in my life. I talk to my parents more now than I've ever talked to my parents my whole life growing up. And the conversations are different because I'm different. I'm bringing a different conversation to it. But a big thing that really kind of had me keep on going in a new direction, or this bizarro direction, is I was working a job and I dropped a paintbrush, and the person I was working with yelled at me like viscerally, where I was shaking like it was me growing up as a kid and my dad was yelling at me. And I said I was sorry, and I was cleaning it up, and it just but I put myself in that position, and I know I do because I'm not easy, and I ask a lot of questions, and he has his life, and and I took that in a way where what the hey, and in the past I was zoomed out and went to the bar and been like shot back a couple, and it would have been gone, but I went home and I chose to have the courage to pick up the phone and call this person. His name's Mark Minervini, who is a mentor of mine, very successful, and told him the conversation. Now, I wouldn't have in the past, right? It's, because I didn't want to hear, right? I wanted his thoughts, because I was working through it. What is it? So I called him, and in explaining this whole situation, he's like, Mark, I don't know if you want to hear this, but you're being a victim. And in that moment, I'm like, what? Victim? Me? This guy yelled at me, right? I was blah, 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 right? And then the whole, now I'm like, how and why, and trying to figure, and that's the inside stuff. Really holding on, and not allowing, me to take a risk, and be that bizarro world. And he said it, and I'm like, I'm like working this questioning, and he's like, dude, what's going to happen is you're going to hate me after this conversation. We're never going to talk again. I shut up. I thought about it, and I said, you're right, to myself. And in that moment, I realized that I've been I've been living this victim mentality my whole life. I've created this victim mentality my whole life, and I created it to, really it was about love, because I didn't love myself in a way, and I didn't really appreciate love in its sense in my upbringing. So everything that I did growing up, and it was really about trying to attract love in a way, whether it was good or bad. And most of it was bad, forcing people to love me. And that is huge. And now it's, working through all this, right? The blessings are, like I asked, God, I actually asked him. I have conversations every night. When I don't have somebody to talk to, I talk to him. It is what it is. It's, whether he's there or not, it doesn't make a difference, because it allows me to hold on to something. And really, whether it's there or not, it doesn't matter. Everything's a game anyway. We're making shit up, right? So it's part of, the way I've lived my life anyway. So it's kind of cool, right? And now I'm testing him, but in a different way. Not testing him in a way where he can keep me alive so that I, reach my purpose. But now I'm accelerating me to get to a place in life where I believe deep down inside that I have this love and this inner peace and not this shame and this guilt of doing all this other stuff while I'm doing this good stuff and, feeling like a poser, so to speak. And, I'm taking all that away and not having the hammer just hanging up there, waiting for that one day for the lesson or the blessing to show up. I don't want those blessings anymore.
You are pruning that mindset like crazy. Very much reminds me of when Hal's on our show, right? Our third co-host. He often talks about the deep journeys of those mindsets. You are going through a deep, deep, deep mindset.
It's awesome too, because I'm Jewish, so I've been fairly religious my whole life. I've been bar mitzvahed, and Judaism is my religion. And I do the holidays when the holidays show up, but not this time. I went beyond, and it's kind of cool because not just for me to and I think about this all the time because now I don't have to jump in and be like the super Jew, right? And go to I could still lead my life, but because I'm jumping in and exploring and understanding more, it gives me a bigger blanket in a way, or another tool, so to speak. And I've always had these tools skills that I generate and use, and they go in the toolbox. And I use God as a tool. He's not it for me. He is it when it comes to life and death in a sense, because if I wasn't supposed to be here, I would have been gone a long time ago. And that is what I'm grateful for. And now I want to take that and use it selfishly for myself. And this right here is not kind of, but I really want to be a part of, creating a community that allows other people to see within our conversation something for themselves that moves them in a way they've never moved before. It's not normal. And then keep on pulling it back and finding the next piece and pulling it back and finding the next piece. And, honestly, this move for me, I'm anxious. And I'm moving in 3 weeks. And the only reason why I'm anxious is because, there's a lot to do. No, but I'm anxious because I really need to do what I'm supposed to be doing and not what I usually do. And that in that moment's time is me consciously changing the narrative and the script and being like, Mark, why the hell wouldn't you? And challenging myself in those moments. Like when that thought comes up or I'm not, flowing in a way. And I feel that anxiousness. I'm like, what is that anxiousness? And the anxiousness isn't about all the stuff. It's about giving something up that I've been holding on to for all my life, which is truly allowing myself to want things and have it.
Ooh, I think that was what we were talking about, which is not about, I think why people never move forward or have what they want is because Raquel and I have talked about this, which is a great topic for the next time, of it's not about the failure, it's about the success. And when you want success, there's a lot that goes with that and why most people stop. Because it's the fear of that success. There's all the work around that to have what you want, whatever that may be. Loving self, having a mate, having a house, having the job of your dreams. There's stuff to manage and handle.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the inner work of that.
And there's two sides to that as well, because fear of success is definitely a thing. But you can look at it another way, and this is the way I look at it, is a sense where I said it before. It's not so much about the fear of success. I've been successful. I am successful. I am a champion, right? I've been afraid of being found out. And being in that place of success, that responsibility of, as a champion, right? For me, the definition of champion is doing it like a champion and not having all these little, okay, this will be all right. And it's the 100%, not the 91 and 92, which, this is all part of my life, is that my 91 or 92 has always been better than everybody else's 100. So I've never pushed myself to that 100, nor have I ever wanted to, because it didn't matter. And now I want to. I want to see what the butt is that's been on all my report cards. Mark is amazing, but Mark has all the potential in the world. But, I'm at a point where I've gone through enough blessings in my life where that light bulb went off and it's time. I'm 57. I'm going to live to 120 because that's how old Moses lived to. And I'm going to put everything in my power that I can do, right? Which leads us to the next matter of fact, to have this be a possibility because it's not guaranteed, right? And that comes with putting in the practice and really kind of looking at it in a way where, yeah, all this insight and all this knowledge is great, but what are the practices that I need to participate in a daily basis? I said one earlier, one of my practices now is when things come up, I challenge that thought right then and there. I said, why? Why are you thinking about this right now? What does it have to do? If you're thinking about it now, it's a great idea. Well, you're not going to do it anyway, right? I'm smarter, right? And I'm okay with that because I know, and my wants are different, and my matters and my whys are different. So this is easier, and it's funner because it's something to look forward to. So practices for me is meditation is a practice. Taking baths is a practice. Grounding, a lot of it for me is grounding. Inquiry, acknowledging things in the moment and not allowing them, right, to continue, and then going through the whole cycle of every possibility, and then I'm thinking about things that'll never happen anyway, and just to justify my mind and how I operate. Having conversations, and not just hi, how are you conversations, but conversations that I talk with my buddy Mitch, who Regina knows very well, and every conversation we have is about him doing his stuff and me doing my stuff. And every time he talks about what he's doing, I get something, and he's like, you get something, and we all, it's just like we're growing. And it's amazing that we're all in this cycle right now, and it's not by chance, because if you believe in God and you believe in the divine, then everything is divinely timed, right? The reason why I'm on October 14th and not last month, because last month's topic wasn't right for me, and everything just got pushed, and I could look at it, I sent my thing in, they didn't send it back, blah, 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 but it happened in a flow where this is ideally where I should be and where we all should be.
Mark, my friend Colleen wants to say, it feels like Mark is looking right into my thoughts. Such in a relatable space right now. So right there in your practice of what you're saying, that your intention is that, something that you say makes a difference for someone and makes an impact. There it is, right there at this moment.
Now if you don't mind, here's the coaching for her, right? It's relatable. Right. But what are you going to do about it? Right now you have a choice because it's relatable. Right. I'm the challenge, and I've always been the challenge to a lot of people because I say what's there. And it's the hardest for me to challenge myself, which is the beauty of it, because now I am. Right. And I'm really good at challenging other people, but never really good at myself. So that never let me get to the next level, because then I get caught.
Yep.
So
that's why we use outside people, right?
Yep.
Sometimes it's outside people. Well, thank you for Colleen. Colleen, Mark has given you the challenge back. So now that you have this insight, such as you're relating to it, what might you want to challenge yourself about? What's relatable? What might you want to say about that? What might you want to prune away to help you grow?
And it could be as simple as just thinking about it. Oh my God, I never thought about it before. And challenge yourself to actually have a thought about it. You don't have to do anything. And it's really not about doing. It's never about the doing. The doing just happens, and whether it happens hard or easy, it's based on mindset. We're capable of doing anything as human beings. As simple as waking up in the morning and going to the beach, which has been 5 minutes away. I've lived here for 6 years. I've been doing it for a month and a half now. It's not about the doing, though, right? I'm going there because it's elevating me in a way, in a mindset that I'm challenging myself to do something, and I'm being grateful, and it allows me to get all my stuff out in the morning, and it's creating this, this whole flow, which works. My buddy Mitch said I'm actually living a life of flow, and I really am.
That's a practice. You gave it
So,
practice.
Mark, in your toolbox, in the time that we have left, What's one thing in your toolbox that you want to share with our audience, a takeaway for them?
Yeah, it's if I was one thing, I have to think about this just for a second. So it's the willingness. It's the willingness to prune, to take that one thing away. It's the willingness to actually be strong enough and bold enough to make that sacrifice, and knowing inside of that and having faith that it's not just you're sacrificing it but this is a stepping stone and this is a catalyst to something great. But it's the willingness, and the willingness is not being comfortable. And for me, it was I could be comfortable like this my whole life. I've done it for 57 years, another 30 years, and if I kept on doing it like this, I would not live forever. I know that my time would be up, my usefulness would be, because he's not going to love me forever and trust me forever. People die all the time, and sadly they do, and sometimes we just don't understand why. But if you really kind of separate yourself from it, and you have this belief that the emotion detached, and then the blessing is what's the difference? What is it? What's the difference it makes, and not just for self, but for others. Because I it's like if this happens for me and I do this, right? Other people get to get what I'm getting and give, because I had to go through that, and they don't have to if they don't want to. You don't have to you don't have to repeat all my lessons. And I'm unwilling, even though I do it every day and I throw stuff out there, right? The power of me being willing to speak it and like be it and match those two, right, has never been there. I'm a good fake it till you make it guy, right? And I've made it, but I've been faking it, and I'm over faking it. That feeling inside, I'm done with all that feeling inside, that shame and that guilt and, all that stuff, and having to worry about what every other person thinks. And, my brother said something poignantly, and because of this, I have to have a hard conversation. He's like, dude, stop thinking about what other people think about, how they're going to react to it, and just think about you.
Awesome. That's a great way to wrap this up. It is about sacrifice and not thinking about what other people think of you, but more importantly, what do you think of you? Mark, thank you so much for sharing who you are with our audience. We truly appreciate you coming on and just being so vulnerable. That's the word I want to use. So we absolutely appreciate you being here. Clearly, you've made an impact. You've given one of our listeners something to think about, and think about also the sacrifice that it's going to take, because it takes sacrifice to prune. So we just appreciate you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for
The sirens, that's a sign. The sirens are a sign.
Yeah, you heard it from my backyard too.
That is important, right? It's important, and it's an emergency. So get on this pruning. Don't delay any longer. You've delayed long enough. So thank you for that. Thank you, Siren. It was right on time, and we truly appreciate it. Mark, thank you so much again. If you want to reach out to Mark and connect with him and have further conversation, you can see his email address is on the screen. It's markwgolf@gmail.com. Do yourself a favor, reach out to him, have a conversation, get some coaching, and just see what his process was. Not that that will be yours, but it's just a starting point. Okay? And remember, ladies and gentlemen, as always, together we can rise and thrive. Till next time.
With peace, love, unity, and compassion. Time to bust this out and start this powerful